You are what I'm looking for. I know what I'm looking for.
Do you want to watercolor like a pro? Yeah, me too. This video is definitely not how to watercolor like a pro. I am a first-time user. I have this beautiful Winsor Newton palette of watercolors I picked up from Michael's, and I have watched a couple of YouTube videos from one of my favorite artists on YouTube. Her name is Shada Campbell. I'll link to her channel in the description box down below. Now, what I'm doing is just mixing up some colors. I think that planning out your color palette when watercoloring is important, just so that you kind of have an idea of what you're doing and get those colors mixed up, and then you can start to play. So that's what I'm starting with. Also, I think an important part of watercoloring is to swatch all your colors so that you have a good idea of what that color is going to look like on watercolor paper when it's dry. So I'm just using a little watercolor sketchbook, and I am putting some of the techniques I've learned watching Shada Campbell. Now, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm freehand drawing. I'm trying to figure out how to draw leaves, and also I'm trying to figure out how to leave it alone and not put so many strokes in detail when the paint is wet. I think that's a really important technique when you first start watercoloring. You need to learn the brush strokes, and then you need to also learn to trust the process. Let the water do its work. So typically with leaves, you should only have 1 or 2 little swipes, and I'm learning, I'm getting better. These little things that I'm trying and testing out are terrible. They're really not anything special. I have no idea what type of brush I'm supposed to use or how this works. I just have some random stuff that I picked up at Michael's trying to be fancy, and I really want to watercolor. I want to learn how to do it and be good at it and make something that is beautiful. Now, I do like this little blue sort of fern looking thing, and then I feel like I messed it up by adding more and more and more. And I totally messed up the shape, and I feel like I was really overthinking what I was doing. And then I added more leaves and added a bunch of leaves that weren't even in the same shape or size, and I thought, well, this is no more good. Let's move on to something else. So I tried to work with some small detail and to create little tiny leaves, and then I messed those up too, and I got some weird angles and shapes, and I gave up on it. And then I tried this little stippling technique. So this is something I saw on Shada's channel, and it was just like doing little stippling with the tip of the brush and then adding little fine lines to connect those stipples to a branch. And I really liked this, and I thought, well, that looks cool. It looks like something, and it looks neat. So after all my practice and messing around, I felt like I was prepared to actually paint a full page of something. Before I do that, I tried to draw some roses and add some more details to things, and it just wasn't working out the way I wanted it. So what I'm going to do is flip the page. I'm going to paint this little stippled flower branch looking thing. So I'm going to rinse out my brushes, and I'm going to start painting. I mixed up some really nice teal, and I started stippling. The most important part of this is to drop in your stipples and then let it dry. Work on something else. Move away from that wet paint, and then you can come back in and add more detail and sort of more in-depth color when the other paint is dry, and then you really get that texture and depth. So that's what I figured out here. I just stippled away, and then I made another branch and another branch, and I tried to keep it sort of triangular so that it was more full towards the bottom. And I dropped in that paint into some of those drier areas, and I just kept working away. And I really loved the result here. I liked connecting the little branches with those little fine lines with the tip of my brush, and then adding in that extra color. Now I mixed up a little bit of green and brown to sort of create my stem, essentially. So I drew in this little stem, and then I started adding a little bit more of a shadow, a darker brown onto the edges of some of those stems, and tried to make it, you know, a little bit more realistic. And here is the final result. I was so proud of myself in completing my very first freehand watercolor painting that I signed my name like a real artist and put the date. And here's a close-up look at my finished watercolor painting. This is perfect to put on the front of a beautiful card or frame it. I think I might just frame it because I was so proud of the finished product. But the purpose of this video today is to inspire you to try something new. You don't have to watercolor like a pro. You don't have to be a pro artist, but you can learn some simple techniques and try something. Give yourself some room to be free creatively and see what you can come up with. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I will continue plugging away at trying to learn how to paint like a pro. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I'd love to have you along my crafty journey. Coming up on screen are a couple of videos I think you may enjoy. Have yourself a lovely day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!